Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CX Goalkeeper podcast. I'm super thrilled to have David Brier together with you. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Thrilled to have this discussion with you. Thank you very much for your time. Today, we are going to discuss about different beats better, branding that sells without selling with David Brier. But as usual, before we kick off this game, let's learn about today's top player. David, what's the biggest goal you are ever scored in your career?
The biggest goal that I've ever scored. Well, there's different areas and different big achievements, but I would say probably the biggest one was a client of mine who I had worked with on his previous company. He'd sold it for 5 days, sold it and sold the company. Never had to work another day in his life. After 5 days, oh, there we go. He called me up and he said, David, retirement is not for me. He goes, I have an idea for a new company. Let's go out to lunch. So we went out to lunch, and 8 years later, he went from startup to billion-dollar unicorn company. So that one really stands out as a real milestone.
Then let's talk about branding for my podcast. No, joke aside, I think that's really a great goal that you scored, biggest achievement. For me was also interesting while I was reviewing your LinkedIn profiles. There are a lot of big milestones, and therefore I was really keen to find out what you would share today. The second question I have for you is, what's your mission today? How do you win in your job?
How I win is a few key parts. One is helping my clients. Right now, there's a lot of noise. Right now, even from 6 months ago, the noise is even more because everyone is jumping onto ChatGPT or AI, and they're throwing a lot of their ad. So there's a lot of layers of just a lot of bleh, like the water's muddy. So it's being able to have a voice that is unmistakable out there in the world. That's number one milestone. But then secondly, on top of that, there is doing that for individuals who give back. I have had clients who have actually told me, thanks to your help, I was able to donate like in the tens of millions of dollars to causes that I support. And they thanked me directly. It's like, because of what you did, that I was able to do that. So thank you. So to me, it's like one, helping a company, a brand rise up is great. When it's used to expand even more, that's when it's truly great. Otherwise, it's kind of like, because I have had some clients that I learned later, they never really advanced anything or anyone else. It was a very much that only their own benefit. That to me is not as satisfying.
I really like it. I really love it because working for the benefit of the community of older people, it's truly inspiring. And at the end, I'm also not paying you to be here. You could do something different, and you are helping me with the podcast, and you are sharing your great know-how with my audience, and I'm super happy and super thrilled for that.
Awesome.
Let's kick off the game. Now the game can start. Different beats better. Branding that sells without selling.
Yep.
Let's start. Why do most brands get stuck chasing better instead of being different? And what's the real risk in that?
Okay. Well, basically, companies, what happens is that companies, it's their failure to distinguish between marketing and branding. The job of marketing is to get the word out, to get people interested, to provide them an offer, something that they will want to actually purchase or engage in. Now, that could be done in a number of ways. I've seen it done in a number of ways. And oftentimes what happens is that clients will come to me, or a prospect or a company will come to me and they'll say, David, we're spending a lot of money on marketing. And I say, okay, explain to me your situation, and they explain the situation. Now what happens is this. I see them focused on trying to drive the sales, but they skipped over one step. How is their offer, how does it stand out in the marketplace? How does it not just sound similar like every other one? How is it not just competing on the number of features that they have, right? Those are the places where they get lost. And so, and also here's the other thing. And I mean, anybody who's been in business has dealt with this. You're talking to someone who's interested in your product or service, and then they say, so tell me, and now they ask you some question where you're supposed to prove that what you're offering is worthwhile. I always find it very amusing, because usually the question is this. Usually the question is, so David, tell me, have you ever done anything like this in our industry, or blah, 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 blah. Well, they'll say something like that. I find it hysterical because I know the question, it's a very shallow question. It's a question based on what? Everything that they've heard before this moment. They may have seen a YouTube thing. They may have read some articles. They may have gone to ChatGPT to get some insights, whatever, right? But all of that is old information. Here's the thing to know. Old information will not allow people to come to new conclusions, right? Anybody that's involved in selling, anybody that's involved in growth, everybody's involved in sales, it's like people need to arrive at a new conclusion. Oh, that's why they start connecting dots that they didn't connect before. So if I were to answer that question, that would be basically playing the better game rather than the different game. So my response is always this. It's like, I understand why you're asking that question, but the question you should really be asking is, boom, and one for one. I've never had this happen any differently. One for one. They're always like, huh, we never thought of it that way. That's a really good question. And now they have to really think, who actually owns the control of that conversation at that point? It is us. So, and everything I've just explained is different is better than better. Why should you or I play to the same rules as the ones that have been already established, already been discussed? What if I were to say, but here's the thing that everybody isn't looking at. Here's what this can do, or here's the problem you really want to solve, or here's even more powerful. What you're talking about is a symptom, and it is not actually a cause. I'd like to talk about this because this is a cause. Now you're going to be having a worthwhile conversation that's going to be elevating them, and that's why different is better than better. Better keeps you and me in the same, playing to the same rules that everybody else has been playing. I would rather introduce a whole new discussion because we can arrive at smarter conclusions, better plans, more brilliant strategies, and a better decision.
That's so cool what you're saying and what you're saying, and I really like what the way you are explaining that, because basically nowadays everything is digital, and it means the competitors are one click far away. It's not anymore about going to the branch, signing contracts, and so on. With one click, you can change and switch to the other one. And you mentioned something that it's really relevant. If we base everything, is our foundation is based on the past and the same industry, you will never innovate. That's always what I'm also trying to make understandable. Let's take the best thing from other industries and then combine them and leverage them. Because at the end, a customer compare your business, not your business, a business, compare a business with Amazon, with Ritz-Carlton, with Disney, and they say, oh, but there it's more amazing, there it's more personalized, there it's quicker. And you say, yes, but we are working in a completely different industry. Yes, but these are the comparison. Really like that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Many leaders think that brand is just a logo and a bit fluffy. You say it's the killer app for sales. Can you explain how branding actually drives revenues even before a salesperson show up?
Completely. Well, first of all, let's look at the world. The world is very noisy. One. Two, the world is not only very noisy, but it's noisy with a lot of similar sounding things. So it becomes increasingly difficult for us to go, how is that different? How is that different? How is that different? How is that different? We do not notice the things that are similar. You and I do not notice, okay, just a little, you can't, the biggest mistake is that brands can go too shallow. They can only do, okay, we're going to change the look or change the colors or do this or do that. They're going to make little changes thinking that it's a big lever, and it's not a big lever. What we need to do is we need to have a very, very, very big lever to impact change, because branding comes down to this. And I cover this fully in this book here. I cover this fully here. Boom, that little guy. That is brand intervention. In that, there are 5 books. There are about 25,000 books on branding right now. If you go to Amazon.com, Google it. Go in there, go to Amazon under books, branding. You'll have over 25,000 books. That's kind of crazy for one subject. Now, the interesting thing is when I was writing brand intervention, there was no agreed upon definition for branding. There were lots of ideas, lots of opinions, but there was not a single agreed upon definition, which was weird. So I went ahead and I took on the problem. It comes down to a 4-word definition. 4 words. The art of differentiation. If you know that branding is the art of differentiation, then you no longer just look at it in terms of, oh, logo, or oh, choice of font, or oh, the tagline. You look much more holistically, the whole thing, and you go, okay, in the scheme of all the options that are available, and how is the customer or client going to respond if they're presented this? That's basically the scenario. So that's basically what happens, is that branding is the art of differentiation. To the extent that we're differentiating is to the extent that we're branding. Is to the extent that we're not differentiating is the extent that we're not branding. No matter how busy we may be, if we're not differentiating, we're not branding.
And to the audience, if you're still in Amazon searching for all this title, please stop with the title Brand Intervention and buy David's book, because you see how worthwhile are this discussion, a lot of great insight. You also warned brands being beige, this strange color that we cannot find out.
Being beige.
Yes.
Yes.
Those that blend in and bore people. What make a brand beige?
Well, so beige is about the most bland. It's not exciting, and that was even something that when Apple was really differentiating itself, it made reference to the fact that all the computers at the time were beige, right? They were all beige. And so Apple came out with its, colorful computers. It came out with the silver computers, et cetera, et cetera. Now, a brand has to have 2 elements. There needs to be the known, meaning, okay, we know, you and I know, if I go to this product, that it will have these things. These are deal makers or deal breakers. It's got to have this, got to have this, got to have it. So it's like, so none of those are a reason to get excited. They're just a reason to stick around. That's a reason for me to not leave the room, right? Okay. Oh, they're there. Okay. None of that is compelling. Now, what makes it compelling? When it moves from you take that, now that list that I've just talked about, all those things, those are what I call the knowns. That's what we know. That's what we come to expect. So it meets our expectations and it provides the knowns. That's like going to a grocery store and saying, okay, I'm going to get bread, butter, eggs, fish, chicken, meat, vegetables, whatever. Known. Now, but the great stores and the great shopping experiences, they'll have some things. Maybe someone will say, oh, try this. Try this. You try and you go, wow, that's the most amazing cheese. What kind of cracker is that? What's this? What's that? That's the other column. That is the unknown. It is the unexpected. It's a surprise. It's not predictable. The first column, known, expected, predictable. Second column, unknown, unexpected. It's a surprise. It's a delight. It's discovery. There's no discovery in the first list. That's not discovery. That's okay. Yep. Then we get into the next, and now we get into discovery. That's where it gets exciting. And we go, oh wow. And you can now, it's all of a sudden your imagination is sparked. That's the difference. And so you got to have both. The brands that only meet expectations and do not engage discovery, excitement, surprise, someone's going to replace them in weeks or months easily.
And and you are not mentioning that a lot of companies are not meeting expectation, and it means it's not required to go to delight and surprise if you are not meeting expectation. You define that as forgiven, but we see and we know a lot of groceries that don't have meat, don't have vegetables, and so on. And therefore, if you have the delight, then you don't care because you need to go to another grocery to get the missing items. It's really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yep.
now we are coming to an end of the first half. It was more strategic. And now let's really go to use cases in the second half of this discussion of this game.
Yep.
You have said most rebrands fail because they are just cosmetic. Can you share a story where a rebrand totally missed the mark?
Well, let's see. Let me think of some. Okay, this is an example. So recently, actually, it was last year, the end of last year. Jaguar. Okay, so they came out with that very controversial ad. I'm sure someone said, "Look at all the colors," but it made no sense. It was purely someone was looking at it through, I don't know, whatever lenses that they were looking at it through, but they were looking at color and they were looking at shock value and they were ignoring their customer base. That was I thought that was one of the most disastrous rebrands that I've seen in a long time. But it was obvious that design, and there are a lot of people see that it was a really bad move. There's a few people who are like, oh, and they try and explain it. They say, well, they were saying that they were going to put production on hold and all this stuff. But here's the thing. For those that are like, oh, no, that's not a legitimate example, I want to point this out. One, there were people who had placed an order on a Jaguar, and after that ad came out, people canceled their orders for the Jaguar. That was one. And the second thing is, if that was so good, for the very small percentage that think that was good, if that was so good, how come nobody placed any pre-orders for the new electric vehicles that they're going to be producing? So the thing is, it was not justified. But that's an example of using cosmetics horribly for a very, very negative outcome.
And now please tell us about a brand that didn't just rebrand, but that truly differentiated itself. What changed, and perhaps also the parallel with the Jaguar example.
Sure. So let me. Well, I'm gonna use one that one of our clients that is a perfect example. So there's a product that they make, which is raw dog food, meaning that it's actually good quality food, uncooked for dogs. So it has all the nutrients. And they were selling it, but what they were called before was Hillside Farms. Hillside Farms. Someone could say, well, that's fine. Hillside Farms. I know what a hill is. I know what a hillside is, and I know what a farm is. That's fine. No, it's not fine because it's forgettable. So here's what happens. I do an analysis. I look at their clients. I look at the competition. The competition in terms of product is night and day. It's night and day. But the most important part of it is this. Their clients tended to be more affluent, right? They had more money. They were dog owners. They traveled. So in America, we have you're familiar with Napa Valley, where wines are made. Okay.
Yes.
So we have Napa Valley. So what I did is I basically did our homework, and we came up with the name Napa Fresh. And that was the name, and it was Earth's most civilized food for dogs, right? But Napa Fresh. And then the artwork that was done was not the usual art. The usual artwork and photography that's done for packaging, it's a picture of a pretty dog, or it's a dog leaping in a field. Very common. That's the opposite of branding, because that would make us look like everyone else. So we did. I chose artwork that looked like oil paintings, beautiful, rustic Tuscany kind of colors, and beautiful. What they do is they do this, the sales that it used to take them 4 months to do, they now do every month. So that's an example of that, because it stood out and people loved the products. People love what they had to offer, but now it was memorable. Napa Fresh, instant. You hear those two words, there's an immediate concept. Hillside Farms didn't convey an immediate concept. Napa Fresh did.
The first, a small bracket, Napa Valley and Tuscany. I think the next time we should drink a glass of wine together. I would love to do that. Thank you. No, I think the story, it's really important, that it's really key, and you shared all this information, all this key insight. If somebody would like to contact you to find more about you, and I know that you wrote several books, several articles, what's the best way to find you and to contact you?
They can certainly contact me via LinkedIn very easily, or they can go to risingabovethenoise.com. RISING abovethenoise.com. Risingabovethenoise.com.
Thank you very much. And for the audience, you will find all this information also in the show notes, including the link to the books. And now we are coming to an end, but we have penalties at the end of this game. And these are a quick fire round. Please, short answer. Who is your role model in business?
I would say, I think Richard Branson, because I love how wide his imagination goes.
Your transformation superpower?
Say it one more time.
Your transformation superpower.
In terms of my personal transformation or my ability to transform others?
Your ability.
My ability. Irrepressible, or I'll use a better word. Tireless defiance.
The toughest challenge that you beat?
I once had to brand ice in a bag, and I won.
And your winning habit?
Always increasing the quality of my espresso drinks at home.
Oh, then we really need to meet, because I have a professional machine at home. If you are coming to Switzerland, please let me know. Be my guest with some wine and coffee together. Thank you very much for these penalties. And now, really, the last question is the golden nugget. It's something that we discussed, or something new to leave to the audience with.
I would say the thing that I look at that always is fascinating to me is imagination. To me, is the potential greatest weapon and it is the most underestimated lever, like a lever to get something. It's the most underestimated and underutilized lever to achieve amazing things. My greatest friends use their imagination wildly. The most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful artists, the most successful athletes all use imagination, and they're always willing to say, why not? Why not that? How come that? They're willing to question, and that willingness to question is a combination of curiosity and imagination. And those two factors make the difference between being a mere mortal and a mythological god.
That was such an amazing, interesting, but also inspiring discussion. David, thank you very much for your time. Please,
My pleasure.
David, please stay with me. To the audience, for today, it's everything. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. Please follow David, buy his books. He's doing really great job. You will find all the information in the show notes below. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.